Hey, what's up everyone, this is Snackbox. Guys, we finally got some information on the new Fusion, so let's jump right into it. Before we start, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and now let's get back to the video. Alright, so let's take a look. Mad Hatter is gonna be the new legendary Fusion, and it's gonna start tomorrow on Wednesday, January the 8th. It's going to be a mixed fusion. That means part of it's going to be a fragment fusion and the other part is going to be a traditional fusion. So how does that work? Well, most likely you're going to collect fragments from events for the epics, then fuse those epics from the fragments, level them to level 50, ascend them to 5-star, and then you can fuse those epics into the new legendary fusion, which is Mad Hatter. So let's talk about his kit. Now he's a Forest Affinity, a support type champion, and from the Knights Revenant faction. We already knew the faction before and what his skills can do, sort of, but we didn't know the exact description of the skills. So let's see. His A1, the Startly Distillation. Attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 25% chance of stealing one random buff. Each hit also has a 75% chance of applying a debuff spread effect, taking one random debuff from the target and placing it on all enemies under a hex debuff. This can be booked up to 100% chance. Okay. A debuff spread on an A1 is actually not too bad. I can see this be very effectful on the Hydra boss, but let's see what his A2 can do. His A2, Mixture Most Foul. Attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance of placing a hex debuff and a 25%, a big version of weaken debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. So that's actually interesting. I don't think there's another champion in the game that has this combination of weaken and hex. And this can also be booked up to 100%. And the cooldown can be reduced by 2, so it's a 3-turn cooldown skill, which is actually pretty nice. Especially when you're missing hex in your Hydra team, this guy can be really decent, I guess, with a 3-turn cooldown on an AoE attack. He's Forest Affinity, which is not bad. And if you pair him with Ugo, you have, decreased defense, weaken, hex, and block buffs. So that's actually pretty strong. But that's not everything for this skill. So the ally with the highest crit damage will team up and join the attack. The ally joining the attack will use their default skill. The damage dealt by the ally joining the attack will increase by 10% per each debuff on the target. Okay, so this is actually not bad. An ally attack only with one champion, but with the one with the highest crit damage, so it will be your damage dealer or one of your damage dealers, and his damage will increase per debuff on the target, and there's no cap. So if the target has 10 debuffs, the damage will increase by 100%, and that is actually pretty huge. If you pair this skill with a damage dealer that has an AoE attack on the A1, for example, an Oboro, which will do an AoE attack when there's 4 or more debuffs on the target, and you want debuffs on the target anyway, the damage will increase by 100%, which is really, really strong. So this is not a bad skill at all. I think this is actually pretty good. Let's take a look at the A3. A Whiff of Madness. Increases the duration of all buffs on all allies by 1 turn and decreases the duration of all debuffs on all allies by 1 turn. Also fills the turn meters of all allies by 20%. This skill needs 2 books and can be also booked down to 3 turns. That's also pretty good. A turn meter fill is always nice. On all allies, 20% is not the best, but also not the worst. So somewhere in the middle, not too bad. Also, the increase of the buff duration and the decrease of the debuff duration is kind of like what Mikage does with her A2. So this is actually not a bad skill. Kind of works like a little cleanse, but also a buff extender. Pretty nice to have actually in your team. Everything I see so far kind of just makes sense in Hydra for me. So I'm pretty convinced that the area he's going to perform the best in is going to be Hydra. Then let's take a look at the passive Time for Tea. Every 10 turns taken by allies, heals all allies by 20% of their max HP, and every 6 turns taken by enemies places a true fear debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. If there are multiple champions on the team with this skill, only one will activate. Every 10 turns your team takes, all of them will get healed by 20%, but not of his HP, but of your ally's HP. Which is okay, I would say, but not great. If it was his HP, it would be much better because you would have more control of the over the amount of heal you would supply to the allies. And every 6 turns taken by enemies and then places a true fear. This will not work in Hydra, but I guess for like waves and like progression and faction wars and stuff like that, this can help. But other than that, I don't see this being a really good passive effect. More so the heal. The heal seems better than the true fear. Then he has an aura, which is increases ally accuracy in all battles by 60. Also not the best one, but also not the lowest one. So 60 is also somewhere in the middle. Yeah, so overall, I think this champion will help a lot of people with progression in terms of faction wars, maybe Doom Tower, you know, some dungeons maybe, and of course Hydra with the hex and the weaken and debuff spread, a budget cleanse, and then a buff extender and turn meter fill and a little heal. So he does a lot of things, and that's exactly what you want for a Hydra team, right? You want champions that do multiple things at once, and he does that. So that's actually pretty good. I don't think he will be at the top of the list and replace some of the already, you know, OP champions for Hydra, for example. So yeah, I can definitely understand why people would skip this champion and this fusion, but I wouldn't suggest anybody to skip a fusion. I always do the fusions, every one of them, even though I don't necessarily need them. But you never know what content's gonna come out next, and maybe you will need this type of fusion in a niche situation. So it's better to be prepared and have that champion on your account than needing it. That's basically how I approach fusions, but I can totally understand if you would want to skip this one. So the fusion is going to start tomorrow. It's a little bit of a short notice and very unusual also that the fusion starts on a Wednesday. Normally the fusion starts on a Thursday, at least in the past, but now it's going to start tomorrow, and we will see what the fusion plan is going to tell us, the fusion calendar. I'm going to do a fusion plan on that for sure and try to help you complete this fusion if you're going for it. But that's all that I got for now, guys. Thank you guys for watching. And with that being said, see you in the next video.